Hallo Freunde, willkommen zurück zu .NET API Review. Wir haben einen halben screen of issues, and that's a good transition into English. Totally has nothing to do with not knowing the word screen in German. Wait, Bildschirm. No, that's monitor. Anyway, yep, we have about half a page worth of issues of .NET 11, and I'm feeling energetic and ambitious, and like these are all small, and maybe we'll knock them all out. The only way to do that is if we get started. So let's start with runtime 101243, add a zip archive entry, open overload. Iram?
Yep. Okay. So there is currently the open function without any parameters, where the current implementation forces the entry to be decompressed if you're in the update mode into decompressed into the memory completely, even when you want to just have a read-only operation, and it causes a significant memory overhead. I think we have two issues reporting this. And we will be adding an open overload with the file access as the parameter to zip archive entry. And this way, even if you are in zip archive mode update, you will be able to open an entry inside that zip with the read access, so that you will only decompress what you need, and then, yeah, basically it will cause a significant memory, I don't know how to say, but like gain, I guess, in a way. So yeah, I think we had a couple alternative designs, but this is what we ended up with. We discussed if we should use zip archive mode as the parameter, but decided file access, which can be read, write, and read write, is better. So yeah, basically this will be helping the developers mostly in update zip archive mode. The API usage code snippet, I think, it explains it.
Okay. Does anybody know if we have prior art here? The thing that's coming to my mind immediately is should we also accept the file sharing mode as an overload? If we've
And the
done just
box?
access without sharing, then that's fine.
But this isn't talking about the actual zip file, right? You already have the zip file open, and this is talking about an entry that you've extracted from the zip file, correct?
Yes, this will be an addition to zip archive entry, and yes, basically to answer the question, yes.
Okay, so
Yeah, so
right.
if we did have a share mode, I think it would probably be on the zip archive constructor itself rather than on the open method.
Yeah, but it also takes file streams, so it's already.
Yeah.
So okay, so you're using this to just know if you're planning on reading the entry only versus writing to it.
Yes.
Okay, and this is the entry level, not the. Okay. Somehow I turned zip archive entry into zip archive. I'm good like that. All right, what is it? What does file access look like?
It can be read write or read write both.
Okay. I think that 100% of those map into the entry. So if somebody passes only read or only write, are you going to make the other operation fail?
In update mode, no. But if the zip archive is in read-only mode, and if you try to open an entry with write access, yes, it will be.
Well, I don't mean from the method call, but like, so if you call it here update, and now you open this entry in read mode, and now if I say read stream.write, is that going to correctly throw? Or is that going to do something weird and like rebuffer it so you can do an update?
But in update, you are able to make write operations.
Right, but you said open the individual stream in a read mode. So it's if this is in read mode, do you behave like it's in read mode, meaning it throws from write operations?
Oh, okay, okay. Now I understand. And yes, yes.
Okay.
All
right. I think I'm out of questions.
Or
Anybody else?
I would add actually, if you do the open on the write, I think we still allow reading. Is that correct, Hiram?
Yep, yep.
That seems counterintuitive.
Yeah, just go ahead and block it. Make them pass read write if they want to do both.
Okay.
Or no?
Because you're taking a parameter, you should respect it. So if they said
Yeah.
it should only be written to, maybe they're, I don't know, stopping some plugin they're passing it to from doing something weird. I don't know.
It could also
Is
allow
there
you
any
to
other
do an
API?
optimization under the covers.
Where write implies read, or that you're allowed to read.
I'm sorry, I couldn't.
I'm just wondering if there's any other API that behave that way, where like file access dot write would allow reading or something like that.
Mhm. Yeah, I am not aware of any. Maybe Radek has any. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't actually know if what Karol said is correct, to tell the truth, because so why loops exist is that if you say that you want to only open for a write, we don't need to keep the stream seekable, which means we can write straight through compression stream into the file below, and I don't see us being able to read the thing back in.
I was asking, I was not claiming, right?
Oh,
So, yeah.
okay. I didn't get the tone then.
But anyway, the consensus is that what's said, like, you know, if it's read, it should throw on write attempt. If it's write, it should throw on read attempt. Is that good understanding? That's the ideal behavior.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think we have consensus.
Okay.
That part, at least.
Is there also some sort of interaction between the zip archive mode passed to zip archive and the file access mode passed to an entry from that archive? Like, I don't know this API very well, but it seems like there might be contradictions there as well.
Okay, so for this open function, the one that doesn't take parameters, it checks the zip archive mode, and this is the only thing that comes to my mind right now. If the zip archive mode is on read, the entry is opened on read only. If it's in create, I'm not sure how that makes sense, but if it's an update, it's opened in, I guess, read write mode. So it is passed in the way that it can be checked, but I'm not sure if it is being actually used somewhere inside the entry, if that was the question.
Kinda, I guess what I'm asking, if you open a zip archive with zip archive mode read, like read only, and then you call the new proposed open with file access write, then I would expect that to throw as well.
That will be throwing, yes.
Right, and vice, I don't know if there's a vice versa here as well. But yeah, basically this. But can you do file access read? The code I'm seeing on the screen, it says zip archive mode dot update, and then I'm seeing open with file access read. So update isn't exactly write only. Maybe it means update or read. I don't know zip archive mode very well.
Yeah, update translates to read write, basically.
Okay, then that makes sense.
Yeah, write's called create, but otherwise it looks like it's basically file access, but spelled differently.
Yes, if it is on zip archive mode read, the entry is open in read mode, create write mode, and update in read write mode, basically. So yeah.
So I guess my only comment is if zip archive mode is create, then it probably shouldn't be possible to open an entry with file access read, right? That should throw.
Well, presumably you can read an entry that you just wrote, correct?
Are they seekable when you're in create? Like I don't know. Can you reopen it? Can you write an entry into a new file and then reopen it?
Let's see. The underlying stream doesn't have to support seeking. Yeah, I mean, I would assume that create should just be treated like write, and the entries yell at you if you try and reopen them and read. Especially because it may not be possible if the stream doesn't seek. So, to me, it feels to me like the new overload really only makes sense if you're in update mode. If you're in create,
Yeah,
you know what you meant to do. If you're in read, you know what you meant to do. It's if you're in update mode where you're like, I'm going to keep reading things until I find the one that I wanted to change. Then it's use the lower overhead read.
right. I don't know why somebody would open a zip archive and create and then say open an entry for write, write some contents to it, close the entry, and then immediately open the entry for read. We just want to make sure that we haven't broken any scenario that already exists, obviously, but I don't know why anybody would do that.
Like this is a new API, right? So I guess we wouldn't be breaking.
Well, if you change the open method to call into this method, then
Right.
you could inadvertently introduce a break,
True.
is what I was getting at.
Okay.
All right. And I checked the file stream constructor names the file access parameter access. I don't have a better name for it. If anybody else wants to shout one out, go for it. Sold. All right. Make zip archive entry compression method public. Runtime 9R5 It's a lot of
Okay.
nines.
Okay, so the compression method attribute is currently private, and we will make it public, but read-only public, so that I guess developers will have access to the type of the compression method used to compress the specific entry. And yeah, read-only, I said it, and then this. The enum also exists and it is private, so we will be making that public as well. And values are coming from the zip file format, and it defines the values like that. So we decided to stick to it, so that it is. I know it looks ugly, 0, 8, 9, and then CE, but we thought about making it 0, 1, 2, 3, but. Yeah, these are coming from the spec itself.
So this is only about reading the compression method, not
Yeah.
about influencing the compression method?
Yes, only reading. Well, when you are compressing, based on the compression method, if you decide to go with no compression for some reason, it is set to 0 itself automatically, I guess. So you have I guess a choice when you are compressing it, you cannot set it after it is already a zip archive entry. And yeah.
Okay, I guess I'm just wondering because if we were to add this and then we wanted to use this for writing, we don't have support for some of these entries. What would we do in that case? We would just throw if someone tried to specify something that we didn't support?
We were thinking that you mean like if we return, I don't know, like 1, for example, for the compression method.
I meant like if the next API proposal wasn't just about reading, but was to add a zip archive constructor or zip archive entry constructor that accepted a zip compression method, and someone passed in LZMA, what would we do? We would throw?
I'd expect a
Or that's not even, that's
PNSE.
not, what's that?
I would expect a PNSE, yeah. Platform
The
not
same we
supported
would do
exception.
for number 1 or 2 that are not defined at all, right? That are invalid values, or
That I'd expect to be a argument exception, but
fair enough.
yeah, I would. My take on it would be if we added the support to control the compression method, we would throw platform not supported exceptions for ones we didn't take, just like we do in enums we added from Windows that didn't make sense on Linux.
And the entries that are listed here, this is the complete set of known values.
No. This we decided to go with these because these were already defined inside the private enum I just mentioned, and I think the list goes on. I don't know how many there are, but there are quite a few, and we were thinking even if we return something that is not in here, yeah, there are, I think, more than 20. Yeah, the user can maybe even mismatch from this document if we were to return the value.
Okay, so
Okay.
but we'll be documenting that these values, the values of these named enum entries correspond to the values in the spec.
They are the same actually. They will be, so we will read, if I understand the question correctly, we will be reading the header for that, and then it will be directly the same as the enum value. Like the values will be corresponding to each other.
Right. That's my question is basically, are we gonna? Sometimes when we expose enums, they're just numbered, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and we do a mapping from the actual value in the protocol to a well-known value, and we do that to provide basically an abstraction so that if there were different things that we were trying to represent, we could map them all to the same enum. Here, we're basically just using an enum. It's really just an integer, and we're using an enum just to give well-known names to certain values, but the values are all going to just be the raw value that we read from the payload.
Yes.
Okay.
And this is what has been going on on the private side anyways. So we will not be changing the logic behind that. Yes, Karel, you would.
We should probably add as well the Z standard, right? Because Radek is implementing that right now, or his implementation should add it.
Okay. I will do that. I'll take a note.
Does the work Radek's doing, the work you're doing with Z standard, does that allow for the entries in a zip archive to be encoded with Z standard?
It will, we can seamlessly integrate, so it will decompress it, but we don't have an API to influence which compression method is used when creating new zip archive entries.
Okay. So we'll be doing the work to ensure that it appropriately decompresses, but when we compress, it's always just deflate, I guess.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What happens today when we encounter a zip archive with zip archive content compressed with a format that we don't have a decompressor for?
I think we try to stuff it into deflate stream and throw it if it does not understand it.
Okay.
It depends on the actual value. There are some code paths that go through deflate and some code paths that just give you the raw stream, which means that depending on which API you call, you might actually get different values for for the inner data.
So sometimes you get the decompressed data, sometimes you get the compressed data, and sometimes you get an exception.
That's what I'm seeing looking through the code.
Interesting design.
Yeah.
But that's existing behavior, right? You know, I don't think that this API is gonna change it directly.
No, I understand. I'm just trying to understand
Yep.
because we're talking about, well, we've not talked about two things in the conversation. One, exposing, the compression method, which may or may not, it sounds like may or may not have already impacted the compressed data. Like if it's something that we know about, when you read the data, it may actually, you may be reading the uncompressed. And in some cases, you may be reading the compressed. It's just an interesting, yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
It's weird.
Okay.
Okay.
So as far as the proposal is concerned, I think we said we want to add. Presumably, we're going to add it with capital Z STD for Z standard, or do we want Z standard written out? I guess let's look ahead. What were you proposing for HTTP? Yeah. So
There we go.
if for web we're planning on doing ZSTD, then back here we probably want to do ZSTD as well.
I did put it under alternatives that we should discuss whether that should be named.
Fair enough. So I guess when we're done with this one, maybe we'll jump to that one.
And actually, one more question. So the what's the bzip2? Do we basically the values that we list or use right now are those that we support? Is that good understanding?
No, we don't support LZMA, we don't support bzip2, and we only minimally support deflate 64.
Oh, interesting. But LZMA is coming. That's on ARM's
Is
plate.
it?
So yeah, that's what we hope for.
Fingers crossed, yeah. But yeah, to be honest, I don't know why, but these were already defined in the code, just like this. So-
We shouldn't go based on what was happened to be defined
Yeah,
in
I know,
internal implementation GTO. Like we should be very thoughtful about which ones we're choosing to expose and why.
We probably expose those that we support.
So when we say support, right, are we talking like for like deflate 64? That's both compression and decompression is just unsupported.
I think we support deflate 64 for maybe just for reading. Does that sound right?
But currently, the only place you would encounter this is you've opened an existing archive.
Right.
This API, or
Yeah.
if we expose it. Well, it is weird, right? Because there's no way to archive using .NET. You said using store only. So this allows us to enforce it, but we couldn't create an archive that only did store like reliably.
Yeah,
or
but
at
we
all.
have to be
Is
able
that-
to
is
read
that
anything from
true?
other tool, right? So
Right.
I meant what we support in decrypting or decompression, that makes sense to kind of have a known value defined. That would be my take.
Yeah, I'm torn between only show the ones we support because they're the only times it's gonna be useful, or just try and implement the whole stack. But I don't think we should do anything in the middle. Like either we want all the values here that don't say reserved, or only the ones we support.
I agree.
And if you say LZMA, we expect it in this release, we can approve it here, but we should yank it before .NET 11 ships if we don't actually add support for it.
Yeah, we should make it part of the LZMA work. The specific value. Yeah.
Yeah.
Agree.
So
And same with the Z standard.
yeah, deciding the name shape now is fine. Like LZMA, I don't think we would spell any other way.
And there, if we don't support bzip2, we're gonna yank it, right?
Yeah, I think we I think we choose to do one of three things. Either we just have an integer and we're just exposing an integer value, or we choose to have an enum that contains only the things that we support, or we choose to have an enum with all known values. Any sort of intermediate between those feels very strange to me. Like there's no rhyme or reason to it.
I'm
So with the
navigating
last
towards.
one, can you do anything useful like iterating over the entries if we don't support the compression message, like or method or whatever?
You could print out an error message saying this contains data in the format of blah blah blah.
Right. But you're not given like the raw data or anything via this API if you had your own.
Well, that was my question earlier. I don't fully know
Okay.
the answer. It sounds like in some cases we might throw, and in some cases we might return the uncompressed data.
Oh, so that was the optimistic deflate stream thing answer earlier.
I recheck the source code. We actually hand out the raw data if we don't understand the compression method.
That seems better. Okay, in that case, I think we should just have all known values. And
Well,
If we can do
until we add support for LZMA or BZIP2, and then we no longer hand you the raw data, we hand you the inflated data.
right, I mean,
That's
that's
if
fine,
you
right? I
want-
mean, every
yeah.
change is breaking technically. I mean, that one's
Yeah,
That's
if you
already
want
the
the
case,
raw
right?
data, like there really should be an API for getting the raw data if you want the raw data. Like we shouldn't have APIs that
Right.
sometimes give you the raw data and sometimes give you the inflated data.
But just to
Like, that's
confirm,
just-
Levi, that this is already the case, right? Regardless of whether we're exposing this enum or not, it's already the case.
Oh yeah,
that-
yeah.
Okay.
I'm calling out an existing bug in the
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, I agree with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
but you can't use the compile time. Well, under that mode, the compile time presence of the enum member would indicate that you're going to have runtime, but the converse doesn't hold because when you built, you could see there's no LZMA, but then you happen to be running on a .NET from the future.
No, the presence or not of an entry in this list has no bearing on whether it's supported or not. We would want some other API that basically says the
Yeah.
data you're getting out is compressed or decompressed.
Which isn't exactly bolting it onto this proposal. That's we're observing a weakness in zip archive entry.
An existing weakness, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you would need this API in order to implement a give me the raw data API. So it seems like this is a prerequisite regardless, right?
yeah, and I think it's already mentioned in this issue. You can compare like compressed length to length as kind of a poor man's. Is
I
this
wouldn't
stored
rely
or-
on that.
Yeah.
yeah. It would be better to have a first class API. But yeah, I think we can
Yeah.
approve this regardless.
All right.
I'm sure I can make a deflate stream that has a compressed length equal to its length.
I'm sure.
All right. So we have item 1 of names we need to decide is: do we write out Z standard or do we spell it Z studded?
Naming is hard.
Use the standard to make it readable. And it's the official name.
All right. I like that answer. And we'll just remember that when we come back to the other one. And then do we want to say we should add something for everything, which means we're going to have to name them all, or do we want to trim the list to only the things we support, and we can certainly revisit that in the future?
From it.
Agreed.
All right. And
I think we would also want to very clearly call out in the documentation, like, this is a zip, this is a file provided value, and it could be complete garbage. Like, somebody could have put FF in there just to mess with you. Don't put too much faith in the value of this enum.
I could put FFFF, it's 2 bytes.
They could, yeah.
All right, I got the catalog back up. So Yes, here are the sibling properties, the compressed length and length that we were talking about. Yeah, I think the compression mode will look. Well, wait. Oh yeah, because this is for each individual file in the zip. Yeah. Yeah, it's fine.
And we have the is encrypted over there, by the way.
Yep. And once we come up with the name for is something we understood the compression algorithm for, and therefore are giving you the expanded version, but maybe a smidge more terse than that. And that's where it'll go to. All right. I heard we don't have bzip2 and we don't have LZMA yet. So
And Z standard is technically not checked in yet. It's in PR, so maybe comment that out as well.
I mean, we expect it this release, so it's approved.
Yep, fair enough.
You can
But I
certainly.
assume the LZMA is as well approved, that we don't have to come again. Well, we're gonna come with the LZMA part, so it might be part of that. So.
Fair enough. I guess the commented out are, if the platform supports it, these are the names and numbers. So
Good.
So I guess I'll comment out Z standard. I can spell today. All right. Good enough. Alright.
Sorry, one sec. In the other API that you had open in another tab called it ZSTD, not Z standard.
That's a
Was that
proposal that we haven't gotten to yet.
okay?
So
Cool.
we're going to add more letters to that one.
And Miha mentioned it's an alternative design, so I'm gonna lean to that probably.
But yes, the last question in chat I do believe was already answered, which is we're not going to filter the value that comes out of the zip. So if this is what all that we ship, but you get a thing that used bzip2, you'll just see that it's the value C. I can do that 13, and you can make your own enum members by defining a named const. Actually, with extension everything, can you bolt enum members on now?
Not yet.
Okay. It's probably good, because otherwise brains. All right. Though it would make multi-targeting easier. All right, so we're adding stored, deflate, and deflate 64. Pre-approval for bzip2, LZMA, and Z standard. Anybody have anything else? Bloop. All right. Be able to specify a window size and broadly compression options and more words. Runtime 116227.
Okay, so currently Broadless Stream is hard coding the window size to a default value, which is 22. Yes, it is 22. But actually the underlying Broadly algorithm supports window sizes from 10 to 24. So in here we are adding the window size, exposing the window size, and they will be able to set it, get it inside the Broadly compression options, so that they will have the option to control the sliding window. And yeah, like I said, the algorithm actually supports sizes 10 to 24, so we will not be adding any logic. We will just be exposing the size, just like quality. Quality is already, you can set it. So yeah, it is right now set to a default. I am not sure how 22 was decided, but yeah.
And all right, so it sounds like you're saying we're not going to throw out of the setter. We're we won't throw until you say new Brotli stream and we find out that the underlying provider rejected the number?
Set will be throwing, if that was the question.
Okay, so we
Mhm.
currently
Quality has the same.
know that window size cannot exceed 10 to 24, so we're going to throw out of the setter.
Exactly. Quality does the same for values outside of 0 to 11 already.
Fair enough. All right. Thoughts?
Ship it.
It's like I'd already written that or something. What? Apparently I clicked near a picture. I click up there instead. Okay. Well, GitHub, that's a usability problem. All right. Custom dictionary support for Brotli 118784.
Okay, so for this standard, we have talked about dictionaries last time, so this is adding same functionality for Brotli. There is one difference between Z standard and Brotli in that Brotli theoretically allows multiple dictionaries to be used, and the effect is similar to when you concatenate the raw dictionary data and use it as a single one, at least from what I have tested it out. So there are actually two possibilities how to use them. We can either do attach method, and if somebody for some reason wants to use multiple dictionaries, they can call it multiple times. Or we can use the same approach as we did for Z standard, which is pass it in a constructor or add it to the Brotli compression methods. That's the alternative proposal, which is somewhere lower on the page.
So I understand you said the approach we agreed on for Z standard is what's listed here as the alternate design.
Yes, because I should have swapped them because I actually started working on this issue before I worked on Z standard, so I didn't know there was this difference.
Okay, so is the actual proposal the alternative design?
Yes, actually.
Just for consistency reason, right?
Yeah, it will bring us more consistency, and if somebody starts asking that hey, I need to use multiple dictionaries, then we might need to add another API surface to allow that. But so far, I think it will be very rare. Or we can.
So for Z standard, my recollection is we used this sort of approach because it's a set. You're not allowed to have more than one. But you said
Yes.
With Brotli, if they want to use more than one, they can call attach multiple times. So does Brotli support multiple dictionaries?
Yes, and the order matters, and it's like the implementation like is able to use multiple dictionaries if you give it to it. Question is like how common is this type of usage, and
And
that's
why would you do that, right?
Yeah,
as a user.
Yeah, I mean, I would be concerned that if we go with the one approach here, just to say that we do it similar to how we did Z standard, that 1 to 10 years from now, we're going to come back and want, well, now you can also have attach because someone came up with a compelling reason to have two. And so I think we should, instead of designing the two to look like each other just for consistency's sake, we should care what they're modeling. And attach or add or whatever seems more flexible to me.
I didn't fully follow that, Jeremy. What does that mean? You think we should do for Z standard?
For Z standard, it's set. You're only allowed to have one.
I thought you were saying you want to be flexible to support multiple in the future should someone decide that Z standard needs multiple. Is that
No,
not
no,
what
no.
you were saying?
It's
Oh.
since Brotli does support multiple.
I see.
I think we should do the attach approach so you can call it multiple times versus do the constructor approach, and we just say we don't understand why someone would want to call it a second time, and then later now we have both the constructor and attach.
I see.
Or we could look at it like, what if we do the single dictionary approach for Brotli as well, but with the path forward, if somebody comes with attached, that we add, I don't know, default constructor and attached dictionary and whatnot. Would we be really screaming at that moment?
It's just the slightly sad more than one way to do it. I think if we go the constructor route now and we want to let you support multiple dictionaries in the future, we'd just go cancellation token approach and we'd let you combine dictionaries and then you have to pass the pre-combined dictionary in. Maybe that's not how Brotli works under the covers, but that would be our easiest.
Or just pass
notation.
or just kind of do this, right? Or actually, yeah, we do, because over here we don't have any in the constructor, right?
Oh.
Correct.
Yeah, and I mean we can certainly have the constructor, which is start with this one and then add it and have attach, which is go add another one. So I guess
Yep.
I guess the both is fine.
And from what Radek said, like right now, we're not aware of any kind of really strong. I think both approaches are kind of
Yeah.
fine for me.
Yeah, I can't get
That's what
both
I'm
of those
saying.
on the screen at the same time.
That's awesome. Thanks.
Sorry, was
Is
there a
this making
question
the
for me?
structs too
My
big? Oh, sorry.
internet, my internet dropped for like half a minute. Was there some question for me?
No, we were just
No.
rambling.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Stefan, you wanted to say something?
I remember we were talking about this before, and maybe this doesn't change anything, but like the encoder and decoder, is this adding a new field to the struct?
Not to the struct, but to the save handle, which
I
it
see.
holds inside.
So not really.
So for like, if you kind of fell off, like what I was saying, like maybe go with the constructor approach and just be ready to add the attach methods, as an alternative. Eventually, when we have use cases for the multiple dictionaries.
Yeah, that's possible. Also, another possibility would be accepting a collection of dictionaries, but like, yeah, it unfortunately leads to more and more on constructor overloads.
Can you
And
with
doing
Brotli? Can you
Brotli
attach? Sorry, go ahead.
And with Brotli compression options, it might be difficult to make it allow specifying more, because now it's just a single property.
Do all dictionaries, if you're doing multiple, have to be set before you start compressing anything?
Yes.
Or I guess reading in the case of the decoder. Okay, so saying that we do something like add a dictionary dot concat or combine or whatever to make it one dictionary instance that is itself a collection, or we add a collection overload or whatever. Those are all fine. And in fact, the attach method is worse because it's state dependent. So
yeah,
actually, I like the constructor one better if it can't be changed after you start appending data. It controls the flow better.
So Radek, you said that you had concern about the constructor overload. How many constructors are there today? Was it general trouble or specific?
Oh, no, I meant like if we decide to allow multiple dictionaries in the future, then now we are setting them in a constructor, so we would have to add constructor overload, which accepts collection of dictionaries, or just make the Brotli compression options instead of like having single dictionaries, have a list of dictionaries and
Yeah.
leave this weird use case only to be done using the compression options path.
Yeah, that's why I would suggest once it has to be done at construction time that we just cheat and we do Brotli dictionary.combine to glue two
Yeah.
Or
dictionaries
or
together
do-
into one parameter.
or do that.
You're making a virtual gluey together dictionary.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yeah, right now it only has one constructor. And the quality and window parameters that we have to the encoder, those are instead now parameters to the dictionary.
Only the quality, so we probably want to keep an overload with the window size. So yeah. And my internet is not cooperating.
We still hear you.
Good.
But we're not considering the API proposal. This one. This is
Yeah.
what we're proposing.
Yeah.
Well, I was
And-
looking at the shape of Brotli dictionary, which is only listed up top.
Oh, I see. Got it.
Do we
It was
need
not
the new
Brotli
screen
encoder?
constructor? Oh, sorry.
Carl?
Go ahead. Okay, my question was like what you looked at. I thought that you looked at actually the Brotli encoder, right? Which already had two arguments, the constructor there.
Yeah, so this is the existing constructor, quality and window.
Yeah.
And we're replacing it with, we need to keep these two, right, as well, don't
Right.
we?
But so
Oh,
dictionary
we
has
need
quality.
to- Yeah, the constructor
Oh.
should take the window size
Got
as
it.
well.
Got it.
The constructor for Brotli encoder or the constructor for Brotli
Yes.
dictionary?
Encoder.
Okay, so this should, instead of being dictionary, it should be dictionary and window.
Yes.
And
You are copying the one with the attach.
the one below.
Yeah, so sorry for making it.
You have to remember, I'm not all that
Complicated.
smart.
So I'm gonna make it more complicated, right? If in future we decide to combine dictionaries and each dictionary has its own quality, what the heck does it mean?
I mean,
That's a good question.
what would it mean
Uh,
if the quality is a function of the dictionary? That is already a problem with Brotli.
Is it part of dictionary or was it just our convenience in the past?
no. It's so the quality parameter is passed to Brotli when you are constructing the dictionary. So it presumably does some post-processing of the data, initializes some tables, whatever.
I see.
So it's baked in basically, and therefore it like supersedes any quality set that would be used separately as a parameter. I'm not sure if you, now I don't remember Brotli API from top of my head, but I don't think it has an overload which accepts both quality and a dictionary. It accepts one or the other.
Well, we are introducing the dictionary, right? That's a new type,
Yes.
isn't it?
Yes.
So nobody else accepts it right now. Or you mean under the hood or?
No, it's completely new.
Did we leave training out from Z standard? I know we talked about it. Did we cut it in the end?
We kept the training, and I don't remember seeing any API for Brotli for training a dictionary.
Okay, so how would somebody get a dictionary to pass in?
You can just use anything which contains the pieces of data which you want to compress. It doesn't have to be structured. It just takes a raw blob of data. Like the training is just a way to make the dictionary more efficient and like removing redundant pieces from there, but it's not strictly necessary for the algorithm to work. It's just making it even better. And unfortunately, Brotli as a library does not have this thing.
Sorry, what do you mean does not have this thing?
That doesn't have the training method.
Like in the native library.
Yeah, the native library does not expose training methods.
So,
So it is the idea that you have to get that blob from somewhere else. We don't facilitate you creating that blob.
Or you could just sample data yourself and like test it and hope for the best, right? Like the idea is it's just data that the compression algorithm can reference, right?
Yes.
It does.
Well, yeah, but it's. I guess what I'm asking is I'm looking at the Brotli spec right now, and there's a 120 kilobyte dictionary, which I think is what you're taking as part of this create argument, correct?
Yes, that would be it.
Okay.
And like, yeah, it's visible as a raw data. You can see it just contains lots of presumably fairly common strings in web.
so this is
But
just
we
a bunch
don't-
of bytes concatenated together of things that you expect to be in your dictionary.
Yes.
Fair enough.
No, there is structure to the dictionary. Like it's not just a bunch of concatenated data. It is a structured data format. It is a payload. And I don't think we facilitate creating it, correct?
So you're saying it could fail to load for being invalid?
I'm according to the spec, yes. According to the spec, the dictionary has structure.
Okay, so if you can scroll higher on the issue, there is actually a snippet of the public of the Brotli API, and basically it accepts the dictionary type. So basically, the structured one would be I presume, the serialized type.
So we
And-
don't give it capability to provide the serialized structure with this API.
Yes, because the documentation on the code says use of this value will fail.
So if I go to the RFC and I look at Appendix A and I take that 120 kilobyte blob and I pass it into the create API that we're providing, that API will throw an exception. Is that what I'm hearing?
It should still be able to interpret it as just a raw data and not try to deserialize any structure from it. Like the obvious question here is whether it would result in the same encoded or decoded data, and that is something that I would have to test. I don't know from
Right.
top of my head.
What I'm afraid would happen is it would, because the dictionary, the structure of the dictionary is it's the raw data, and then at the very end of the raw data, it's a bunch of metadata about where pointers to the data are within the previous payload. And my fear is that if that's interpreted as part of the raw data payload, then those pieces of metadata themselves become dictionary entries. And now we're going to start including as part of the output pointers to data which don't exist in any other Brotli implementation, even if we're just taking the raw Appendix A data and throwing it through. Which means that we've created something that can't be read by any other Brotli decoder. That's my fear with this.
So the reference dictionary which we are talking about is baked in the implementation, is actually part of the library. It's not something that
Right.
you have to manually provide to the library.
Correct.
So,
but are you, when we're creating a dictionary, are we replacing the built-in one or appending it? Because my understanding is Brotli is largely intended for anything that is primarily text data. And if I'm compressing something that's not an HTML page, maybe it's an uncompressed PDF document. Maybe I'm trying to compress a PDF document better than the built-in compression. Like, the tags that they use are going to look far different than HTML. Can I provide a custom dictionary for it and make something good?
yes, and the question, and then you would use this create, and the question is, what would be like the best raw data to use, like whether you use like a similar document and have it like, okay, use this document as a dictionary, and since the same text will be already present in that document, it would reference it and save, yeah, it's save some space that way. But that would be like the dictionary without this structure that you mentioned, those offsets at the end of the dictionary itself. And maybe this needs a little bit more looking into it, like why if we only can provide unstructured dictionaries to Brotli, and like all the other implementations do it that way, or whether there is something that we are missing. Because like from the API, it seems to me that you can only provide unstructured dictionaries to Brotli. And the one that's baked in is a privileged and has some additional metadata on it for some reasons.
I feel like we really need some samples to accompany this API.
Sure.
And
Okay.
as in showing a full end-to-end sample of A, when you would use the API, and then B, what it actually looks like to provide a custom dictionary, both to the encoder and the decoder, because both the decoder and the encoder need the same dictionary, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So a full end-to-end sample showing why somebody would want to do this and how to do it, I think would help clarify things quite a bit. Because that's what we're missing here, I think, in the API design. Like there's a bunch of abstract discussion about what it might look like to call this, but I don't see here any end-to-end example.
Well, the end-to-end example would just show us loading the dictionary from some data blob and passing it to encoder and decoder. It's the interesting part is how you get the dictionary itself, the raw data.
Right, and but is the interesting part something that we're facilitating the creation of? Are we basically providing an end-to-end example of using an API, but 90% of all of the work is stuff you need to do before using the API? So customers are still left wondering what to do.
Yeah, like what's the impetus for adding this?
Right.
And if I think about it, like having such example in our docs would be useful, right? You know, like, hey, this is how it's intended to be used.
Right.
Because yeah, I mean, I think we had the same thing with Z standard. If there's a command line tool and you can give it a reference thing and tell it go chew on this as hard as you can to make a great dictionary, and the answer is you run this tool and then you load the data it gives. That's an answer. But right now you say create it from bytes, but we don't know where to get the bytes from.
Yeah, and by the way, we don't have to create that tool, right? Our documentation can say the tool already exists over here. Go fetch it and run it yourself. But it strikes me as that we're adding an API and then just kind of telling people you'll know when you need to use this API and you'll know how to use the API. It's like, but wait a minute, we're the API authors. We should be providing that guidance.
Mm-hmm. Okay, in that case, I will take some more time to look into this and come back when I have more.
Yeah, but by the way, I don't think the API is bad. I think once we actually have that full end-to-end guidance and end-to-end example, I suspect the API shape is probably going to stay as you have proposed here. It's just having that end-to-end example, I think, would really help us get full confidence that this is the right shape.
Agreed.
I don't suppose we could do that part over an email. I mean, meaning when I get enough data, like a document, end-to-end example, or do we want to meet on further API discussion?
We can try over
I don't-
email and see if it works.
Yeah, I think that's right.
And if it doesn't, another session.
Historically, the answer is email. But yeah, we can always try. But if we're gonna try that, then I guess a thing that I was gonna park because it sounded like we were parking. How do we feel about adding this constructor to Brotli Stream? My personal take is we already have a Brotli Stream constructor that takes the compression options, and we should just say that if you want to use dictionary, use the compression options.
We need that one for decompression because
Ah.
compression options are only for compression.
Fair enough. I'll delete that bullet then.
So are we gonna conditionally approve the API shape pending the case review?
I think we'll
so.
approve it if once we understand the case, because then we'll be
Yeah.
able to say if it meets the needs or not.
Okay, let me.
Well,
try to-
regardless, do we need the Brotli Stream constructor? Like, it's already in options, right?
I said that so you can pass it from here into the decoder.
I mean, you still can with the options constructor, right?
The compression options hardcode the compression path. You can't initialize Brotli Stream for decompression using compression options.
It's only for compression, you said? I
Yes.
see. I see. Okay.
So let me amend my previous question, Jeremy. Will we write at the end like here's roughly the shape we're looking at? I think that
Yeah.
would be
I'm
useful.
gonna have
Yeah.
the current shape and then mark it needs work.
Perfect.
All right, so that we think the constructor approach is the better approach. This was a missing parameter, and we need some more scenarios to understand if the shape is meeting them.
And future shout out to some combine, perhaps. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah. Done. All right. Yellow card. That's the color the label is.
So now only green ones, right?
I don't know. I don't actually know anything about soccer. All right. Next up, the previously hinted decompression methods.z stood for web requests. Based on the other discussion, I think we want to add more letters.
Yeah, if you press F5, you should see standard. So
Cheater.
had enough time. Yeah, I put it comments under the alternate proposal, right? The ZSTD is used in some places, like header names, for example, or header values. But I think Z standard makes sense. Just as a counterexample with Broccoli, the values in headers there are BR, and we call it Broccoli, so it seems more readable.
Right.
Did we expect any impact on ASP.NET in this? For the Z standard, but that's probably part of the Z standard feature, right, Radek?
So this is ultimately decompression of responses. So
Yeah, okay.
it's basically opt-in for client. I don't think there is request compression anywhere.
We don't
Definitely
have it
not.
yet from the client.
Yeah.
But I think we opened that question and that's not part of API, so I'm gonna shut up.
Green card. All right. All right. Well, thank you, compression crew. It looks like we've run out of compression things.
Yay, we made it.
Yeah.
Almost. Thank you.
All right. Next up, link join, return a tuple similar to zip. 12059 or 6.
I guess that's my cue. So yeah, this is a pair of issues which are very, very similar, practically identical, and they're about introducing a tiny bit of sugar into a link for join and group join. Currently, these methods have a result selector. So when you do a join, you have to say what comes out of it. And the hypothesis here, what we tend to see is that in 90% of cases or whatever, people just want to get out the outer and the inner for join. Basically, they create an anonymous type or a tuple. And the idea here is why not do their job for them? So not require people to have a result selector and simply introduce a new overload, which doesn't have a result selector and returns an enumerable of the tuple, which they would construct themselves. There's basically the same idea for group join and the next issue, but we can start with this one, which is probably a bit simpler. I'm going to note that there's a bit of prior art here. This was inspired by a similar thing that was done in Zip. So Zip has exactly the same thing. There's an overload with a result selector, and then there's an identical overload without a result selector, which returns an enumerable of a tuple, if I remember correctly. So that's it. It's very sugary. It's very it's not a big deal. It's just a bit of a quality life. Nothing more.
Okay.
And I
ahead.
see the queryable operators, sorry, are missing from this. I'll make a note.
Yeah, so it's I believe anytime we touch enumerable, the things then become queryable, and does Plink also need it?
Plink, I know I mean, last time I was here talking about something, Plink was not kept up to sync. But yeah, I mean, because it was complicated. but this one really is very, very light sugar. So
Okay, and the tuple should be named, which T outer would be outer and T inner would be inner. So
makes sense.
Because we named for zip, it was T first and T second.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
I can say some like one design question that came up here. So the original suggestion had us returning not just a tuple of outer and inner, but also the keys, because there's a key selector for the outer and the inner. So there was some idea that those keys might be useful, but there was consensus that complicates the API for the 95% of users who don't need those keys, for the 5% who will. And in any case, in almost all cases, you can get the key out anyway because you've got the outer and the inner. So unless the key is derived by a very like a computationally intensive transformation, you don't need it. You can just re-access it, and it just seems like the right trade-off to do.
And
And the result selectors don't even allow the more complicated overloads don't provide it either.
no, okay. I was gonna say, and then they could just always call the existing overloads, but
But they can't. Yeah.
they can't. Okay. Well,
Exactly.
so yeah, before I duplicate it for queryable, here's all the hard work of slapping parameter names or
Thanks.
tuple element names.
Yep.
So, yes, the design guidelines do suggest never returning a tuple, but say that in cases like zip where we decided where it is the natural answer and you never expect it to need to change, then it's fine. So I agree with the analogy that this is the same as zip.
I made the same objection, and I felt a bit hesitant, but then Zip already did it, so.
Yeah. And as you said, this is just an easy way to get the enumerable paired data, and if somebody doesn't like it, they can continue calling the one with the result selector.
Yep.
And just to confirm, this is zip, not join, right?
We're talking about adding a join overload. Zip was already done.
Oh, yes. Okay, got it.
Yeah, we did zip like 2 years ago. Nope, we did that for 5. We did that 5 years ago.
Wow.
Yes, I see it now.
Okay.
So this uses the default key comparer for T outer.
It basically does whatever the existing overloads do.
yeah,
so,
I assume we're
yes.
actually just going to implement this as
Yeah.
calling the existing with the
Yep.
result selector of the
Yeah,
lambda.
yeah.
Exactly. That's my
Sounds
plan.
good.
So that should answer Frederick's question of
Love it.
we're going to do it the lazy way.
Yep.
So, if we learn a better method later, we could do it, but I don't think anything will beat the lazy way.
Love it.
All right, and then queryable is an iQueryable.
Yep.
I've literally never used that type.
Yeah. Yep.
And iQueryable's the SQL empowered one.
That's the link. Yeah, that's the link provider one, which is used for EveCore and various other link providers.
Okay.
Link to XML, links to
And
whatever.
Is this one of the cases where
Queryable takes
where we need to ask, is this a thing that can be overridden by providers and optimized, and are we missing something, or is this all that we need?
Don't think so.
Queryable takes expressions, doesn't it? Not funcs.
Yeah, sorry, that's correct. Yeah, I was planning on doing the whole, like we can do it here if we want, but yes, it does take expressions.
Yeah, it
We
makes
can,
the system nicer when it finds it in the approval notes, because that's where
there's no ambiguity.
that's where these come from.
Yeah.
Is when it finds the API pattern in an approval block. So
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm
So
looking
I'm-
at the queryable one.
Yeah, queryable.join. This argument takes iQueryable. The inner argument is IEnumerable, and all of the funcs are expressions.
Expressions, right?
Yeah.
Good points.
where that would go.
Yeah, sorry for not doing this.
That's all good.
All right. So queryable, enumerable.
Correct. And then
Mhm.
expression of func and blah 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 for the last two arguments.
And expression of func.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And yep, they're still called inner key selector and outer key selector. All right. Is there any other
Okay,
slice that we normally do on link things?
Sorry.
So I asked about Plink. You said we don't need Plink.
I just know that we don't always systematically replicate everything like we do to Queryable, but I think in this case we can, since it's literally going to be just calling to the other thing. So I don't see why not.
You mean parallel dot?
Parallel.
I'm assuming there's a join there, right?
I don't see one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the parallel. Yoink. Ugh.
I see parallel dot a bunch of for methods, but I don't see anything else.
Well,
Unless maybe
there's
I'm looking at the
there's an
wrong site.
accelerator called parallel, and then there's the linky thing called parallel enumerable,
Oh,
Right.
yes.
And parallel
you.
enumerable has joins.
Yes.
which even though it says it's enumerable, it runs on queries.
Cool.
Yeah, it's a bit like the queryable, like the first thing is a parallel query, but then the inners and enumerable looks the same in that sense.
Inner here says parallel query.
Oh,
Interestingly, you didn't add the fun zip overload to parallel enumerable.
What fun zip overload?
The one that returns a value tuple.
Okay.
Oh,
It's
meaning
in
we
variable.zip.
we didn't do it in. We didn't do it for parallel enumerable zip, so we shouldn't do it for parallel enumerable
Correct.
join. All right, good enough for me.
For me too.
I mean, was it an oversight? Like, should we add it now, or is it just not an interesting use case because it's just an accelerator?
I mean, it is just an accelerator, but I also think that we just tend to not think about Plink.
Sure. Because I see that enumerable.zip, sorry, queryable.zip does have the value tuple returning overload. But yeah, parallel enumerable does not.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, I feel like we gave ourselves an analyzer at some point that smacks us if we add something to enumerable but not to queryable. So, and if not, we really should.
Okay.
Okay, so moving to the next one, the group join. The join is fine. No more no other questions.
Yeah, I need to paste the approval, but
Oh, sorry.
decided
Okay.
to skip parallel enumerable.
We can always do a push specifically for syncing missing things in parallel MP link at some point.
Mhm.
Seeing as how there appear to be other holes.
But that was the. We didn't do zip, so we're content skipping this one. And I totally put that in the wrong member.
That's why I thought we were off the group join. Yeah.
Yeah, I get confused when I insert tabs, apparently. And now, what havoc am I gonna? I can delete the thing. All right, this one. Approved. Okay. This issue. Cancel the edit. I'll delete it on another tab while we're looking at this. Okay.
So group join, basically same idea. You can scroll down. Here I did a bit more homework. You can see also the queryable proposal, but if you look at the usage, you can see what if you scroll down a little bit, then you can see how you do it today, existing usage, and then right above that, the new proposed. Basically the same thing. There's a result selector, and we propose to simplify it to save people from having to do the tuple projection basically out. And a group join, unlike join, obviously returns an outer and an enumerable of inners rather than pairs. So it groups things together. There were some design alternatives here, but this is kind of where Eric and me landed. So you can see the proposal above. It's basically returning a tuple of an outer and an enumerable of inner, which, especially because it's deconstructible, allows you to do a nice for each like that and various other things. So that's the basic thing. I can go into some alternatives unless there's already questions.
Love it.
I mean, we'll again want to name the tuple
Yeah.
elements on the return, which does that become outer and inners?
I think so, yes. We can look at what they are called on the parameter of the existing overloads. I'll do that right now. That might give us a clue.
Right now
Oh,
it's just
there.
inner
Yeah.
singular.
But inner is the input, but then now in here it's in an output position. I mean, we can call it inner as a mass noun. I get out, yeah, because you'd be like outer.inner.count. That seems fine. Sorry,
Not inners?
ret.inner. I mean, if we can slap an S on it if we want.
What does
I don't think I like it with the S on it, but
Oh man, I'm trying to remember the name of the existing link API that does something very similar to this. Where are you?
Similar to group
This-
join? Are you thinking of lookup maybe?
I am thinking of lookup, yes. Thank you.
Let's see. I never think of lookup. It's that obscure thing.
But it's just called lookup though. Okay.
Yeah, the thing with lookup extends grouping. That's the type.
Yeah, iGrouping itself is an IEnumerable. That's the problem. It doesn't have
Exactly.
an elements
need a
property
name.
hanging off of it. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. So, by the way, if you scroll down to the alternatives, one proposal here was to return, in fact, an iGrouping, because this is logically a grouping. I mean, group join is half join, half group. That's why it's called that way. So the claim could be made that it should actually return an iGrouping, which would solve this problem for us. Like we wouldn't need a name, and it would be consistent with group by. One thing that we don't like about it is that iGrouping has a T key, like the key of the grouping, but that would actually be the T outer of the group join, as opposed to the join key. So there would be like two usages of the term key in the same statement. One is the join key, the correlation key, and the other one is the grouping key, which is the outer. I don't think it's too terrible, but it is a bit weird. I personally was really on the fence between returning a tuple and an iGrouping, personally.
but I mean, this proposal is an iGrouping of a tuple, so tuples are still tupling. Just
No, wait. So sorry. The proposal, as you see it there, is yet more convoluted because it has this is the proposal that also lets you access the join key, which in any case we don't want.
okay.
The alternative that the alternative I would like us to maybe consider is the thing that returns an IEnumerable of a grouping of T outer, comma T inner. That would be I should have left the other one and not this one. So basically you get an iGrouping, T outer is the key, T inner is the thing that you can enumerate over, right? And then we don't have the naming problem, and the thing is immediately enumerable rather than having to dot into a property on the tuple which contains the inners.
Okay, iGrouping takes a key type and an element type. So yeah, the fact that it's not on here, and I don't know these types means I don't actually know what you're. So this
should
one,
actually-
except instead of T key T outer, it just says T outer.
Yes.
Okay.
Correct. That's
There
what
we
I'm
go.
proposing here.
All right.
Sorry for the mess.
No worries. So that group join returns a grouping over outer and an inner. Oh no, because that's still in the grouping parameter.
And multiple inners.
So it returns one grouping of outer to inner.
Yes.
And then
So
now it
it's an
does whatever iGrouping does. Okay.
It's an enumerable of groups, right? Like there's many
yeah.
many groupings. Yeah.
Yeah.
Basically, it's exactly like group I, except that the key is the outer from the group join.
All right. I will put that here for visualization.
Thank you. Yeah, this was the discussion I actually wanted to bring here, where I really wasn't sure what I want myself.
I mean, looking at just the nouns involved, like group join returning a grouping makes sense to me.
Right. Yeah, really the only possible objection here is that toOuter is occupying the place of a T key on iGrouping, which is slightly maybe confusing here, given there's a T key on group join as well, which means something completely different. But looking at this, I agree that.
Yeah, but it is the key for the group, right? Because the key position is singular and the value or the element position is collection.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah. So the outer is the key of that group. It's not the same as the key of the join, but it's.
Yeah.
I guess I'll ask, and I should have asked on the previous one. How often is the outer key selector the identity lambda?
Not very often, I think. Like usually you don't compare, like it's definitely a usage, but the really typical usage is some property on it that you want to correlate on. Like that's what I'm used to anyway.
Okay.
But you do have some, sure, there are some cases where you've got two lists of numbers and you want to do some correlation.
Oh, because this would be the key selector is, so it's, group by, or group vegetables and something else where the name matches. So now you're saying,
yes.
So outer key selector is vegetable.name. Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So it's the where clause. All right.
Yeah. It's a join in that sense. Yeah. It's like a join.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think this looks happy with the
I tend to agree.
Yeah. So tuple, I understand. I think I understand how the implementation works. Is the iGrouping implementation complicate things and maybe actually want someone to not call this, or is it still going to be as good as somebody else could do on their own?
I don't foresee a complication, but I'm not intimately familiar with right now with the implementation of group join. We can certainly like bring it back if this becomes a problem.
Sure.
You mean like something where iGrouping is more problematic than the tuple variant for some
right. I mean,
reason?
like iGrouping means somewhere we now have to go build one of these group things. I don't know how expensive they are to build, and if it's really just the exact same work it would be for the tuple, except we say new group instead of parens, then like who cares?
Yeah, GroupBy does it. So I'm just assuming from there that if it's okay for GroupBy, it should be okay here.
Okay.
But you might be right. It's just an assumption.
Yeah, I don't know how expensive iGrouping objects tend to be to construct or consume. But if they're basically just a fancy, if the type we return is just a named version of this tuple, then yes, it's more allocatey in that it's on the heap, or
it's a class,
and that it's a class instead of a struct. But I don't care. You're using link.
Exactly. Exactly. And we have GroupBy. I'm basically just using that as a prior art here as well.
All right. And again, these are just convenience overloads. We're not adding new functionality. We're just letting you not write down the. I guess before I hit post, so you have.
Expression of func as normal.
Oh, for the queryable.
Ah.
Yeah.
Because this would now be
Mm-hmm.
group.
Yep.
And then this.
Like department. Basically, you would call it department, and then.
And then this would now be group dot key dot name.
Yeah.
So it is a little longer in the body, but it gets rid of that.
That's right. And you also don't need, I mean, this very specific example with the deconstruct looks nicer with the tuple, but other examples where you're not necessarily deconstructing, you can pass around the grouping, and then like do for each on it directly. That's kind of nice over the tuple.
Yep. All right. I just wanted to make sure that hey, look, we've simplified the usage, still feels simplified with the grouping, and I think it does. So. All right, but these are expression. Boop.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. System netmime media type map. Runtime 121017.
So we have discussed this in a team, and essentially the ask is for being able to, if you are, this comes implementing those LLM agents. Sometimes you are sending or receiving data, and you want to save them to a disk, and you know the media type, and you want to know which file extensions to use when sending those data as, to a disk. So instead of requiring users to always like bring their own mapping, this API design is asking for one inbox. So basically being able to get a media type from file extension and the other way around. And this doesn't have to be like perfect, because obviously you can have like JPEG has, I don't know, 3 different extensions basically meaning the same thing. So it doesn't necessarily need to round trip exactly, but basically the idea is to provide a mapping which will be useful and will be generally recognized by, I don't know, other tools and File Explorer and etc.
Where are we getting the data?
I don't know, Miha.
I think the proposal, at least from Stephen, is that we would have a hard-coded list that we could change between versions. The OS does have ways to obtain this. So there's like registry keys on Windows or some data blobs on Linux. I think we would want the flexibility to choose to use those or not. I think at least initially we would not, and just have effectively a dictionary internally that this maps to.
What's the extension for image/JPEG?
JPG, clearly.
GPG or GPEG, or there's maybe another one like
8.3.
does not.
You have to return a value.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
I'm not sure if Steven has any specific like plans, but I think any one of the GPG, JPG is the more common one.
it's also the one you can
And
save
text
on a fat drive.
Okay, text/HTML. What's the extension for it?
I would
You
expect
see where I'm
HTML.
going with this.
Yeah, I know.
Like why is 8.3 compatibility important for JPG but not HTML? Like we're going to introduce opinions in whenever we can whenever we have data like this come along for the ride in our framework, and we need to make sure that our opinions are A, well informed, and B, consistent, because we can't ever really change our opinions once we change them.
I think we would be opinionated here, at least to a degree. Like we already are. So the media type names are just static types with tons of constants on them. Like for example, we call image.jpg. So presumably we would use JPEG.
Windows includes a JPE that I've never seen. I guess it's if you use JPEG and saved it to FAT and it truncated. So. But. Yeah, I mean, yeah, so from a high level, this is we're signing up for a lot of maintenance. I see that the API is being proposed with no user registration.
Correct.
We, of course, can certainly add it later, but...
Yeah, I don't think we would want this to necessarily be foolproof for everything you could imagine, right? That if you look at the OS, they'll give you way more stuff than we would have here.
Well, okay, if it's not foolproof, why would I want to use it? What's the scenario?
Or we can
For
start
the-
asking Steven.
For the most common scenarios where you are hard coding the 10 things you actually expect, which is gonna be PDF, JPEG, and things like that.
Yeah, this has been showing up a lot, especially with AI-related workloads where you're getting back a file extension, but you need to produce a MIME type, and it's always for JPEG, PNG, WAV, MP3, etc. And every single time we're needing to hard code these things. In the data ingestion stuff, Adam needed to create a giant table for the most common ones. It's just it just keeps coming up, and everyone ends up creating their own mapping, and invariably it's just for the common ones. So I think if we have, we can have a pretty extensive list, but if it's more than the common ones, it'll be sufficient, I think.
So are you saying the only one that we actually know of a use case for is extension to media type, and we could leave off media type to extension?
No, the other way happens as well, where you get back a media type and then you need to produce, you need to, for example, save, like you get back image content from one of these AI services, and then you want to save it out to a file. And now you get back the media type from them, and then you have to figure out the right extension to include on your file when you save it to disk. So that you're going the other direction. And again, you're having to create your own mapping if we don't supply this.
Okay, so they return image/JPEG, and you just want a shortcut to know this should be some file.jpg.
Right.
Yeah, so the proposal doesn't include user additions, so if somebody needs something, if these return false, they're supposed to just have their own lookup table. I mean,
The alternative design was basically exposing a dictionary, in which someone could have augmented if they wanted to. I think I had read-only dictionary, but it could have been an iDictionary, and they could have added to it if they were interested. But yeah, otherwise, if they want to do their own thing, then they would just use try get media type, try get extension, and fall back to their own lookup table.
it's fair.
And we can, of course, have some complicated scheme where it pulls from a config file and augments its notions, but I don't think that's necessary right now.
Yeah, we can bring XE configs back. No?
I fully expect, and I note this in the risk, like I fully expect that we'll see a trickle of bug reports. Oh, I want you to add this one. I want you to add that one. We see that already with SystemNet MIME. But there it's public API. You know, people are asking, oh, you don't have this MIME type listed. Can you please add it? And we see a trickle of those every release. This is just implementation detail.
So you mentioned that I'm getting a response back from an AI system, say, and I need to be able to save it to disk with the proper extension. Is a scenario that it is giving me a multimedia file specifically?
It's not always, but often. So it might be a PDF. It might be an image. It might be an audio file. It might be an XSLX.
Text plane.
Right, and that's what I was getting at, right? If someone's using this API because they're expecting that it's always going to give them some type of media, and let's say that PDF is a media file, right? Should the API ever return .exe, ever?
Should it ever return .exe?
Get the extension for the MIME type application / executable.
I mean, if we wanted it to, it wasn't on my plan, but we could.
But that's the thing, right? So let's say that we introduce this API, and right now it contains PDF, WAV, JPEG, whatever, and then a bunch of people say, hey, why don't you extend it with a bunch of things that are already commonplace, application / executable, for instance, and then .NET 12 ships. Now all of a sudden we start returning .exe from this API. People who have built .NET 11 apps don't realize that this could now start returning extensions for things that aren't just multimedia. Have they introduced a security hole in their application?
Well, we're not. This won't just be media. If your feedback is we shouldn't use things that are executables like exe, we could certainly strip those out. My plan was to basically follow suit with what Java does, what Go does, what Swift does, which is basically, you know, there's a common list of all the Apache types from the Apache database for this stuff, and to just include all of those. That goes well beyond just media types. There's a bunch of document formats, .doc, you know, X,
well, respectfully, no, right? You spent the past few minutes telling us that the very specific use case that you saw was I'm getting a response back from, say, ChatGPT.
There's a difference between what the use case that I care about this for is,
right,
and what this broader API should do. Just because I'm using it for images and audio and PDF doesn't mean that we shouldn't have it to be a more extensive list. I would fully expect.
Yes, it does. It exactly means that. I would argue it exactly means that.
Yeah. So, but Levi, I think you're getting hung up on the word media. Media type is controlled by IAM.
No, I'm not. Like I know that media is being used in a generic term here, but the problem here is that we have a specific use case where the specific use case for using for going against ChatGPT, for instance, is we expect it to return images, audio, stuff like that. Like we expect it
to return a lot of different things. The primary ones are image, audio, but it can generate a whole bunch of things and give you the MIME type for them. The data ingestion stuff can work with pretty much arbitrary data content formats. And that is also a case where it needs this. I don't understand what your concern is.
So my concern is that when you make an application, you have an expectation of the types of data that is legitimate to be ingested within that application. If I expect, say, ChatGPT, whatever, to return an image to me, for instance, and I don't expect anything beyond an image is the only thing that I expect it to return to me. Presumably, what I should do is I should say, I understand PNG, JPG, Targa, stuff like that. And I special case those specifically and allow them to be saved to disk. If I call this API because I'm like, well, I don't know what this particular MIME format is, maybe it's an image type that I don't understand. Now I turn around and call this API and hey, this image has an exe extension. And then I save it to disk and what happens? Right, like we're creating an API that's very, very powerful, which is great. But we're saying the reason that you might want to call this API is because you're writing an application which expects a particular type.
We're coding a dictionary of common data that is available in an API. You're saying we shouldn't expose that mapping at all because someone.
No, that's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is the the very specific use cases that you gave, I think it's dangerous to use an API like this to fulfill those use cases.
I disagree. I
So this
understand your
API,
secure-
for instance, if I were implementing a web browser, like a static file middleware for a for a file server, like I would absolutely use this API. This is a great API for that. But if I'm building an
So
application,
you're
which-
not pushing back on the API, you're pushing back on
Correct.
possible use cases of the API?
Correct, yes.
Okay, well, that's a different discussion. That doesn't change our discussion here.
Well,
I
it-
disagree with
it-
I disagree with the notion that it shouldn't be used for that,
Yeah.
but I don't see how that impacts the API shape.
It impacts the API. Well, it makes me wonder if we're missing something, right? Like if you've given use cases which I believe are not, if I believe that this API isn't the right way to fulfill the specific use cases that you mentioned, I wonder if maybe there is an API that's missing that we should introduce in parallel to this that can more safely fulfill the use cases that you called out.
Such as?
I don't know, because the use cases do seem to be highly application dependent or application specific.
I
But
guess
I wonder if we still need to consider it more though.
I guess I don't understand that you're dealing with a system that can generate arbitrary data with arbitrary media types, and you want to save them to disk.
But the
That's-
thing is, within the context of my application, it might not be valid to save
Then
anything
don't-
to disk.
then
That's
don't
not an
use
image,
this.
not. Yes, that's the thing, right? Where that's the disconnect that I'm having, right? Like we're explicit. It's now recorded on YouTube. Like we expect people to use this API when they're talking with things like ChatGPT, and
Yes.
now after discussion, we're saying, oh well, maybe this isn't the right API for those.
No,
use
I'm saying if
cases.
you have concerns about it, don't use it. I do not share those concerns. I believe this is
The thing
correct
is,
use.
I have concerns about it because I'm a security SME, but I don't think our typical developer audience would have the same understanding of why this is dangerous.
If we don't expose this, people go and copy the full database and do it manually, and then they're in a worse position where they had to do all the work and they're no quote quote safer according to your concerns.
Except for I imagine that if I have an application where I'm expecting to process images, I'm only going to copy the 4 or 5 entries that are specific to like JPEG, PNG, whatever. Like I'm not just going to copy and paste all of like ActiveX control, stuff like that.
Yeah. So do you want a parameter of flag znums of tables it's allowed to look at? Because I think if we just say the answer for this is
Yeah.
you're attached to a HTTP stream, you get a response, it tells you this is the media type, and you're just trying to do save as.
Yeah.
Like you save it. It's the map.
That's fine. Yeah,
Um,
that's that. And I wonder.
IANA does
I
not
wonder
define anything that is
Yeah.
application extension or application dynamic library or application shared object or application static object. So
Right.
none of those currently exist to return SO or DLL or whatever. And we can certainly have a policy that says we're never going to return those because they're dangerous extensions to surprise someone with. But
And that's what I'm saying, right? If in 2027 these get added, would we add them? And if not, why would we not do it? Like we're making a policy here, right? And the policy has to be durable going forward. Do we know what our policy is for how we populate this dictionary?
yeah, mine would
Like,
be if
there seems to be a
IANA.
lot of hand waving right
Mine is if IANA defines it, we should define it. I say as a fellow security SME.
Yeah,
So,
I agree with that. I do agree with that.
which is, I think this is fine. I question the maintenance effort of it, but it'll probably hit a point where it becomes self-stable. I would
Right.
say we had the same concern when we did TLS Cipher Suites, but we just haven't updated that list in 5 years. So at some point
mean,
we
for what it's
acknowledge we're
worth,
just not doing our maintenance homework.
We've been discussing this in chat, but we already exposed this in ASP.NET Core. It's not like it's mostly used by the static files middleware that Levi talks about,
Yes.
but it is
Which
also
is
a public
exactly the
API.
right scenario for this.
Right, yeah. And obviously people want it updated for that because, it can affect the browser working and all that. But it's not too bad. It doesn't change that much.
Right.
A few things a year, maybe.
Yeah, the thing is, like, my fear of people misusing it isn't a legitimate reason not to add it. So yeah,
Yeah, I can agree with the notion that it would be, you know, maybe surprising that one day people start saving .exe, but if that is the thing that ends up getting defined by IANA, I mean, granted, they don't actually say what extensions go with things; they just define the words. But
right.
none of the words that I see here look like they would ever map to exe or so or DLL or dylib or any other. You've now tricked somebody into having a executable side load.
Right.
But I mean, at the same point, you can save .js, and I think we would think that's fine, and Windows Explorer will run that.
Right.
You might have it run as a shell extension
the
in
thing.
Linux. So the answer is, if you're saving stuff to disk and you think you might double click on it, either don't use this API or use it for turn these words into these extensions, and I'm only going to be willing to save these 5 extensions. Like,
Yeah.
All sorts of things can be used for all sorts of wrong approaches, and security's hard, but I don't. Unless we want to start saying, you know, go the OID groups approach, which we don't even use or respect very much,
No.
and say these MIME types represent picture-y things, which I think IANA calls images, then we could do that, but I think the average caller would pass all. Yeah, they break
They
it
would,
down for
yeah.
audio and image and font, and but I think that's even worse because now we need to be maintaining all the subtables, and if something gets listed in both, then that's just annoying. And so I think this is fine. I will ask, do we, based on the expected use cases, do we need a UTF-8 input overload? I'm very happy for the answer to be no. I just feel like I need to ask the question.
I don't think it would hurt. We could have one in the future. I don't currently have a use case for it. Generally, you're dealing with strings in these scenarios, paths, URLs, string media types coming back in JSON. I guess for the JSON case, if you were reading the raw bytes out of a property, you might benefit from having a UTF-8 read-only span of byte. But the easy case is you're just using the string-based APIs. So I don't know. I would start with just span of char and go from there.
closet.
What was that stuff? Or Jaron?
Sorry, I was trying to talk to my wife.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think that makes sense, especially if we expect that the majority of people will read this through, say, a response header and then use that to determine the file extension.
Yeah.
That already comes via a friendly API as a string, and we can always add a UTF-8 overload in the future, just like we can always add a way to control the mapping in the future.
Yep.
Yeah. I think these are also generally not hot path. You've done some larger operation and now you're just trying to, finish it off.
Yeah, I'm just like HTTP response raw headers. I feel like are ASCII, which means
on the wire.
Yeah, but I think they get lifted to string before we return them to a caller. So
in all of our usable APIs, yeah.
My recollection is PowerShell cannot call span-based APIs. So do we want to overload them for string input, or do we not care about PowerShell here?
Can PowerShell even call APIs that return out arguments?
I don't know. I just know that when we were trying to leave some string overloads out for one of the crypto things this year, and Kevin tried calling it from PowerShell, and PowerShell exploded. So we added the string overload.
Actually, why
not that
is
this would
this?
be heavily used by PowerShell, but I guess that's a pro dictionary API. That would probably kind of be easier. Anyway.
I'm looking at the alternative designs compared with the proposal, and one of the designs just returns a nullable string instead of bool, and I'm wondering why that's an alternative instead of the primary. It just seems easier.
That's a good point. At least for the
I-
outgoing.
That was my initial proposal, and it got changed. Miha, maybe you can comment.
I think Mani might have changed it, but I think I brought it up just because we tend to use the try pattern instead of returning nullable things. I don't personally mind returning the nullable here. It makes it easier if you just have one constant in mind as a fallback.
Yeah, I think, try is better when like null or zero is valid, but I think, like get service returns nullable object from iService provider, for instance. It's not unheard of. I know that's like an interface and not a static method, but still.
And those are extensions, they don't count, right?
iService provider is super core. It's been around forever, but the rest of it mostly.
All right, so nullable return and overload with string so that PowerShell can call it.
That seems reasonable. But now, like, I guess the string input has to be non-nullable, blah, blah, blah.
Maybe we should fix PowerShell.
Well, do you anticipate PowerShell being a significant use case for calling this API?
I mean, we can certainly leave it
AI
out until someone
notebooks in
complains.
PowerShell.
Uh,
I don't know. Use it in the scenario you don't like.
like,
I would
imagine something, you're calling into a service API and you're just getting a thing by identifier and it tells you the media type and you're trying to save it as a local name. Like that would be the workload. So you don't have a hint from the URI. And
Also, interestingly, PowerShell often ends up being used by AI-based CLIs and agents because they can generate PowerShell scripts easily and then execute them.
That's a good point.
I was only half joking about fixing PowerShell. PowerShell can't call these. What's the reason for that? Is because read-only span doesn't work well with reflection? Is that the just
so I could be remembering wrong. That's always a possibility. But my recollection is when Kevin tried to do it, that PowerShell basically looks at the ref struct and is like, I don't know how to do this at all, so it's not willing to let the implicit conversion happen at all. You cannot have the PowerShell executor talk about a span, is my understanding. As opposed to some other languages where it, like VB, you can't work with the span, but you can let it pass the span. And if I recall correctly. But yeah, I know we tried leaving it out. Kevin said, I believe it was PowerShell, exploded, and then we added the overloads.
I'm curious, I know in general we've had, like we've basically been adding span-based overloads where we have string-based overloads or array-based overloads. Do we not have many at this point that only have span? I actually thought we would have at this point have a bunch that are just span and not string or array overloads.
And I think I'm actually thinking of byte array to read-only span, so it could be that PowerShell arrays are special. But I think generally when we've walked up to it, we've hit we have the friendlier types because of existing API, and let's keep them for friendly type discovery and not push on somebody in programming 101 that string and span are the same thing.
I think Steve's right by and large when it comes to system buffers, because I don't think we add array or string overloads when we expect to do buffer operations. But I suspect the only reason we have a Raj char here is because we have a string that we've gotten from a header or a file name or something, and we want somebody to do an allocation-free slice of it.
Yeah.
So it's not really a buffer; it's a substring.
There
Extension in particular, yeah.
There are probably cases where we've done span only things as the like this is the extremely low level API, but there's a friendlier way to do it.
Right.
We're saying this is the friendly way to do it, and so that if PowerShell can't call the span one, then it feels like we want to not say PowerShell can't do this one thing.
So that's just basically saying that moving forward, we want to anytime we expose a span-based API that isn't like super duper low level or implicitly tied to spans in other ways, we want to have a non-span overload for it.
Until we believe that all, for whatever all wants to mean, the languages can handle the conversion, and we think it's appropriate for a CS1 student.
Yeah, I mean, I don't object to it here. It adds very little extra work.
Yep. And if we want to say that this is string question mark and we just let null return null and don't bother with the throw, that's fine too.
I think as long as I think we should. There's no point passing null here. I think we should.
Yeah, that's probably a mistake to do that.
Yeah.
All right, so
I have a usability question.
throw if null and then let the conversion happen. It's fine. It's
Yeah.
the way I prefer it.
For get media type, like, are you going to force somebody to extract the extension if all they have is an existing file name? Like, if I pass foo.txt into get media type, will it fail, or will it actually say, oh, I know that you meant .txt, so it's text file?
My inclination was to fail. I mean, we could have this instead be file path, or the equivalent, and have it internally call path.getFileExtension effectively, if that's what you're getting at.
Well, yeah, I wonder if for something like the ASP.NET middleware, if that would just make it easier if we automatically just extract the extension from the input.
I have no qualms with that. I mean, basically, we'd be saying internally we would be calling just get file or path.get extension
right
on whatever the input was, and then using that. That seems reasonable. Basically, there's no downside to that, right?
I don't know.
Yeah, for what it's worth, that's what the interface in ASP.NET Core does, but it gives you like the full path because it's an extensibility point. So you could, in theory, be like looking at the header of the file or something like that.
There are no file extensions that include dots, like .foo.bar, right? That's just considered silly.
Right. Like, I mean, at least we don't account for it in the ASP.NET Core thing.
Yeah, Windows will, Explorer will only consider bar on that to be the name.
Right.
Right. There is like tar.gz, right? But you just look at the final thing generally. Let me double check this actually. But yeah, I'm pretty sure we just look at we find the last period and work from there.
Yeah, that seems like the most straightforward way to do it.
And I think it's what we already do in path.get extension. So
right. So I mean, it's convenient, but if you're gonna talk about convenience, then like, why are we null checking the input? What if I want to combine it in a single if? It's like I got to deal with I can't figure out the media type anyway.
Yes. In general, passing a null input for a file name as opposed to an empty input probably means you have a mistake somewhere at the call site.
Yeah, maybe. Probably most
I
of the
don't feel
time.
strongly about it. I mean,
Yeah, I don't feel that strongly.
If we only had the span overloads, null would be equivalent to empty as far as the implementation was concerned. So if we wanted to allow the same thing to happen for string by making it nullable, that's fine.
Yeah, I mean, it's already a very forgiving API, right? You can give it like your full path and it will give you the extension or null if you can't figure it out. Like, yeah, I don't know. I
mean, as a purist, I like the null check. It says, hey, you're living in a null world and you let a null happen here. That means you forgot to initialize something. But at the same time, it's the like null returning null and empty returning null. It seems fine. So I don't care either way.
I hear a whole lot of not caring all around.
Well, get extension right now returns a string, right? Not a raw char, I believe.
Right.
Yeah.
Because it sounds like if we didn't, sorry, if we required you to pass an extension here, as opposed to just allowing a file name, it sounds like the canonical pattern would be, I start off with a file name, I call .get extension, now I have a string anyway, and now I'm calling the API.
Yeah. No, and I think that I like this taking a path that it helps the caller a bit. It doesn't really hurt anything, and it makes some scenarios easier. As for it being nullable, like, whatever.
And I assume we're not actually going to call get extension. I assume we're going to call last index of dot and
Right.
go one after that.
Don't we have an overload that actually returns a span?
Yeah,
For
if
get
you
extension,
give it
really?
a span, it gives you back a span,
Damn.
which makes it a bit annoying though. If you don't do the S span, you're still allocating. Like just you don't see it, and the analyzer won't tell you that you're doing it.
Oh, you're right, there it is.
Well, I mean, if you call the string win, we're either going to do a null check or not, and then just immediately cast it to read-only span of char and call the other one, and then that'll do the span based get extension trimming. So I don't think there's a cost of not saying .as span, as long as we implement it
very
sanely.
little. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if we had the previous API of just taking the extension, then the usual pattern you would tend to allocate just because you
Yes.
don't know.
I get you.
I see.
All right. So null returning instead of try, path instead of extension, and we're happy. Chat asked the question again of should get extension have a collection-y returny one, but I think if you care about the multiple answers, we need to understand the scenario, and then we would design API for it for the future, and B, write it yourself.
Well, we already have to be opinionated anyway, even if we follow like whatever, collection IANA gives us, because we have to say this particular extension is the winner whenever there's a conflict.
Yeah. I mean, if we later added extension or plurality support, I assume that the single one would return, dot first.
Yeah, exactly.
But I don't think it's important that we say JPEG is known to be JPG, JPE, JPEG. I think JP2 is different. And I don't think we need the HTML versus HTM versus HT versus HTX versus we'll just say HTML
Well,
and we'll move on with life.
we want the one-way mapping though, right? Like we want both HTM and HTML, for instance, to be text HTML.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm saying I don't think it's important, at least until we come up with what the use case is, that somebody be able to ask what are all of the extensions that would have returned this media type.
That is fair.
So we'll do the one in, one out until otherwise needed. So. All right.
Would we enforce that you need a dot in the path if you just pass in a PDF instead of .pdf?
I
think.
Oh,
Okay,
you're right.
media
It does
type.
change behavior.
Yeah, I mean, presumably that's simply if get extension returns empty, we use the input as the key. But I guess that's true. That is the distinction between
Right.
path and extension. Is if we say path, then we expect to return nothing for the bare input PDF.
Looking at this for the ASP.NET one and the static files, it does need the dot. Like it'll just say I don't know if it's not there.
I don't care.
So I guess get media type. Do you want somebody to pass in .pdf or PDF is what it comes down to.
I mean, you can accept both. I mean, we could call it path, and if you don't have a dot in it, just treat the whole thing as an extension. We're allowed to do that. Yeah. I mean, and yeah, I don't having a long name for the single parameter, I think is better than not. It's clear then.
Yeah, I mean, we could call it path or extension, and then we can make it work either way.
Or null, and then make it nullable. No, just kidding. I am
right.
legitimately pro this though, what you have on screen.
If we do that, we should do it for both.
Yeah.
That was me testing the waters. All right. So we're good with path or extension. So this is foo.pdf.pdf or pdf. Or whatever the actual answer is. Before writing it
That's
down, I
right.
should actually look it up. Hey! I guessed right.
Yeah.
All right. And then this will be
Now it's going to incorrectly label someone's
application.
dot file
PDF.
in their home directory.
Uh-huh.
I'm just kidding. I think it's
All right.
fine.
So get extension. I assume we're leaving the dot off.
Yeah.
You should probably put the dot on, reason being that if I'm concatenating an extension to an existing file name and it returns null, and I just have a simple call site that says return original file prefix plus dot plus get extension, now it's going to end with a period where it shouldn't have done anything at all.
Good point. All right. I agree with Levi.
Also, the path get extension does return the dot.
All right.
Yeah.
So application stroke PDF yields period PDF.
I don't think I've ever heard a slash referred to as stroke.
Have you never seen the movie Brazil?
It's a solidus, so yes.
Fine. Application solidus PDF.
Thank you. Thank you.
Chad asks read-only sequence. I don't think we need the path to be represented as a read-only sequence as an input. Honestly, you could get away with passing the last one.
Yeah.
In 9 nines of inputs. All right. Are we happy
I mean, like existentially or with this API?
with this API?
Oh, yes. Okay.
And are those of us in Pacific time hungry?
Those of us on Eastern time are also hungry.
Fair enough. All right. Sold. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
And that means we cleared everything marked as 11 in the meeting. I actually thought we would finish like 40 minutes ago, but whatever. Everything left is marked as future. And we've been low on quorum lately, and December is always hard for vacations. So I expect we only have one more session this year, which may or may not actually happen because it'll be on a short week because Thanksgiving. But thank you, chat, for joining us. Definitely had some good input, and as always, and we'll see you probably next week. Same .NET time, same .NET channel. And if we end up canceling that due to lack of quorum, then Happy New Year. And if we have it, then next session I'll probably say Happy New Year in like a dozen languages at the end. Until then, Auf Wiedersehen.